And we're live. Holy cow. How's that for crazy? Here we are. March 2nd, 2019. We are 20 minutes away from the daily candle close. See what kind of excitement we had today. See what kind of big moves, maybe what kind of big drops, maybe what kind of setups we might be able to look at. Always exciting. It is Saturday, so we have on and off volatility when it comes to the weekends. At least that's how it's been the last few weekends. So, you know, we'll have to take a look and poke our heads around, see what we see as we see them. And of course, if you're on YouTube, I got that chat window open. If you're on Twitch, I scroll back and forth. And if you're on Stream Me, then I will try to find you, but I scroll back and forth between that one as well. I see we already got a few people here. Snow, what's up? Herbert Garcia. I love seeing names that I've seen before. That is fantastic. Snow, you probably just woke up. Herbert, I don't know where you're from, but hopefully you're having a good Saturday. Snow, I guess for you it's probably Sunday. As for me, it's Saturday evening, 5:45. Our candles close at 6. As you can see, you know, we're back to the crazy lag. So bear with me. It may just be a thing, you know, where it's sort of it works itself out. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. We had a pretty good day as far as volatility was concerned. Right now, I have queued up the 7-day up move sorted by peak gains. So it's good to take a look as we wind down the week and we get towards the candle close tomorrow, 24 hours away. Then we'll start to see what the week has given us. And I mean, let's be honest. Overall, this is fantastic. For 7 days of trading, Engine is up 215%. Raven is up 100%. APPC 88%. RCN 76%. Theta BTC, which has been good all month, 75% up. AST, which I can't say I'm all that familiar with AST, but AST is up 70%. KNC cruising in at 70%, and then 60 and below. But this is just the Bitcoin pair, and we could put it on all and just see what's been shaken out. If maybe something on the Tether side of things was a little bit more intense than others, or possibly something just on the ETH pair, but not so much the Bitcoin pair. But of course, we'll let that load up because you know, things are a little bit slower today. But that's okay. So I don't see anything different here. So, well, Bread seems to has closed in the gap. So Bread ETH gained 78%, and then Mana is in the 70s at 72%, and so is BAT. Actually, BAT is up at 72%, and we already talked about AST and KNC. So, I mean, for 7 days, this is phenomenal. You know, to be in a market that can get you gains like this is really, really great. Just looking at the trend scanner, we can see Engine eats strong, right? 4, 6, 12, and daily. So this is something where going light green like this is good. Actually, if we can get a light pink in here and maybe work that smaller time frame, the shorter time frame down, where we might be able to get in on a pullback. But it's certainly a chart worth taking a look at. I actually have Engine BTC queued up because it was the last one I was looking at, so I can get rid of that now. We do have we got about 14 minutes to the close, so we got on a little early today, which was very nice. So we could talk. We can relax, we can detox, right? And then, you know, of course, the candle close. But Engine BTC, so look at this move right here. Based off of the current, right, that current move, we had some targets set over here And I mean, it blasted through everything. It had the 1618, the 2618, the 3618, and I mean, just missed the 423. But I'm going to get rid of that for now, and then we'll swap the fibs over the other way, and we'll take the bottom over here, and we'll line it out with the top, and we'll see on the larger scale what would we be looking at. So on the daily chart, obviously we had this nice breakout from this area back here, which was good, and this whole zone was just sort of doing, you know, not much. When we failed to make that higher high off of this structure high, started looking for a breakout play to the north side. Luckily, that did happen, and we had confluence with the RSI to give us that move, which was really nice. Now, that being said, what else can we get out of this thing? I mean, these are terrific gains, but, you know, a push like that on a chart like this shows me that there may be more to go. You know, there may be more to go here. Now, we could come back and retest these levels over here, and I wouldn't be surprised about that. So that kind of gives confluence to our 50 line. So it's something to, you know, throw in there and be, you know, just be aware of. Right now we're just sideways, right? So the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days have all really just been sideways. It's painting a very delicate little pendant here, which we could do this and we could do this, and we could say, all right, well, as far as, you know, as far as what we know, right, you got a bullish impulse leg up into what forms as a pennant. That's actually continuation, and it becomes a bull pennant. All right. Flags are a little bit different. Flags are kind of like a parallel channel that forces its way back down. Pennants are different. Pennants start with a wider gap in price that consolidates down to a much smaller gap until it gets a breakout either way. Now, if we played the pennant, then we would not be looking at retracements down here. That would be a breakout down below. So it's sort of like careful what you wish for at that point, because you don't want to set yourself up for a target breakout out of formation, out of pattern formation, and then wind up, you know, not missing it because your targets were all the way down here based off of a retracement. So this is where just like, you know, your standard TA comes in and you say, all right, well, now that I have the chart up, let's see what we're looking at. And when we see that big move, although it is a huge move, we do have areas over here where we have resistance. It would make sense to come back and test these levels. It even makes sense to come back and test these levels all the way down here, which would mean a huge retrace down, I don't know, about 73-something% from that top. So, you know, don't put the blinders on just yet. This trade's not over, but we do have we have things to look at. So it's in the back of my mind. I haven't dissected it enough to add an entry to what we've already seen. So me personally, I'm just watching it and sort of observing the pattern play out. That's sort of where I'm at with that. All right, let me go over. I'm drinking coffee Sunday morning. Marky, what's up, Chingas? Love your videos, man. Thank you so much. Let's see. Herbert, you're in Illinois. All right, so I guess Illinois, that should be East Coast EST, so it should be cruising around 7 p.m. for you. I think so. Josh, hey, Josh, what's going on, man? Twice in one day. Look at this guy. That's what I'm talking about. That's fantastic. All right, cool. So let's swing back to the scanner here. Let's see. We just looked at engine. What do we got here? 550. So we're 10 minutes away from daily candle close. This is the 15-minute chart on the left-hand side, 5 on the top right, and the 1 minute down on the bottom right, just to give you a overall basic idea on what happened today as far as volatility is concerned. We pushed up all the way to this point here, which ends up being 38.19. And then the downward movement, which is this guy all the way down here, which ended up retesting these old support levels. Let's see what's going on here. This is way down here. So let's see, the low on that was 37.54. So a decent range. We did have that crazy, yeah, we had this one, I think that was, what, 2 days ago? This massive attack candle on both sides, just licking people north and south. Today was a little less quiet, but that big push down was an interesting move, and it did recover very quickly. Not only that, it retested these support lines here. So, when we look at this zone, as we came up over here, we did make another higher high. Now, this is just a 15-minute chart, so, take that for exactly what it is. It's 15-minute price action, but we did come back up after that big drop and made a higher high. So that was a good sign, although we did start to give it all back, and now we're slowly working it back up to today's point of control. So that's what's shaking on the 15. We have 7 minutes to the daily close. You can see the step in a little bit more detail come the 5-minute chart. You can see volume of relatively low for the day. You had a couple big spikes over here, but for the most part, average volume has been pretty low, 2.78 million just on this candle here. So relatively low, generally speaking, right? Let's swing back over here because I'm sure we can look at another chart or two before that candle actually paints itself closed. AST ETH. So AST ETH in a 7-day period, so going back for the week, this goes back to last Saturday night for me, last Sunday morning for Snow, 109 up, 36 down. So that could give us an opportunity to get in anywhere between a 382 and, a 786 monster range, but we would have to pull the chart up and take a look. Now we take a look at the trend and see, is it worth pulling up? We could say, all right, the 12 and the daily are still sideways, slightly bearish, so we haven't converted those into an uptrend yet, where we're working the lower time frames, where we've actually converted the 1 to an uptrend. So it's worth taking a look. Now, it's a very small cap coin, 6 million coin. It's got really good volume, but this is always a little worrisome when you pull up a chart like that. So we'll take it with a grain of salt. We'll open it up. We'll take a look. And if it ends up being, nothing but a pump and dump type coin, then, we move on. No big deal. So when I look at a chart that I haven't pulled up in a long time, I suggest, this is what I do. I suggest you just get a feel for what the chart tells you, right? These big spikes are repeated over and over again. Pump and dump, right? Pump and dump. Huge pump, huge dump, pump and dump. So what you're looking for is, did you have a good solid impulse move up and then a retrace with continuation, right? We had that here. That's so far the first example on the chart. Everything else so far, pump and dump, pump, dump, pump, dump, pump, dump. Yeah, I could say that all night long. Again, over here, we had a solid move up. This is a 13% candle. Good move up, good pullback. And then we ended up making a higher high, which is nice. And we beat out structure high from earlier. All right, that's the second example. Everything else, another one, pump, dump, pump. And this one retraced a little bit here. And we got a lower low, we got a lower high. So that was a swing failure. And now we have this move here. Now, the difference that we can say for some of these is this, right? The big white line here is that 200-day moving average that, I like throwing on the chart and seeing where it lands. Basically, it is movable support resistance, and it is a level that other traders look at for sure. So always a good idea just to see where it's at, even if you don't leave it on your chart. And I don't like to leave it on my chart, but when I do the live stream stuff, I like to have everything ready. Because as the regulars know, if we start adding some things, it tends to slow down to a halt. So we don't want to do that. Now we can look at historical levels here. Like you said, these bottom zones here are sort of in our way as far as trading is concerned right now. That's a level of interest. Obviously, this was a huge pivot point from a massive down move. Overall, the chart is for sure going down. It's pretty obvious that you could do something like this and say, all right, well, we're clearly in a downtrend. If we look at RSI on here, we could see, okay, we've approached the 70 mark. So we're working with price action currently. Now, I say this every time when I pull up a chart like this. It's a 6 million market cap, right? Super low market cap coin. You have to be very aware of the risk if you are to trade something like this. Even though it may have a good setup, you may not have liquidity to get out of it. And on top of that, you don't want to do this, right? You don't want to buy the pullback and then just hit your stop loss, right? So because, let's say, I don't know, 8 out of 10 of these big spikes that we saw ended up in a dump further than where I was, I'm not going to trade this, but I'll take a look at this move if people are interested in it. 11% up, 8% up, so that's good. We're over 20%, 25%. This candle was a dramatic candle, but it brought down for a retest, so that's okay. So very simply put, if you're going to play something like this, right, you do want to throw your fib up, get an idea of recent price action, and even historical. Some of these lines go way back. But this will give us an indication of a few things that we can look at right now. And one of them being that 200-day moving average, right? Confluence with that historical support resistance zone. We do have a long-term trend line working its way down. This should be red. So we'll do that for resistance. All right. And then you have a fairly aggressive higher high over here body-wise. This one's a little bit lower, more of a false breakout than anything else. Same here, another false breakout. You gave it all right back within the contents of the uptrend. So I'm not concerned with this. I'm more concerned with this. This was actual price reversal. All right, so price was coming up, something stopped it, we reversed course. Right, we ended up finding support here, and we have reversed once again. So something like this, we'd have to say, a very close stop, and I'd probably put confluence in with this structure high. So I might be doing something in the ballpark of, right above structure high all the way down to 709, but then a super, super, super tight stop where I might be doing something, let's say, I want to find a good candle to actually work off of here. And I'd hate to do it, but I almost want to put the stop right under 709. I can't do that. So I'll do the swing over here. This is the top of the body on the swing candle that touched down for the retest. So really tight stop, but what happens with this is you trade a lot less of your capital. So if you do get stopped out, you're only losing a very little bit of your capital, and that's, you want to keep it that way. Trust me. I mean, you do not want to be messing around with those crazy low cap coins unless you're very familiar with how they trade, how they operate. Okay, so we are 23 seconds from the daily candle close. Always a very exciting time. Are we heading down in regards to, I don't, which coin? Josh with the fist pump. What's going on? Saint, what's up, Saint? Another regular. What's happening, buddy? All right, we are 6 seconds away from the daily candle close. We can see buying is already coming in on the last few seconds of this candle. And then we will paint it. We will let the paint dry, and then we will examine it on the daily chart. Okay, so we're in. We're good. We are freshly painted. March 2nd is officially over. Welcome to March 3rd, your third day in March on trading. So that's good. Overall, we can see, on the shorter term time frame, the 15-minute, we are steadily going up and up and up and up and up. We're going to have to retest these levels if we want continuation, and obviously we'll have to break up and close above those. Now, let's go to the daily, and let's take a better look at what's happening here. So on our daily chart, this is my other template, but this one's probably easier to read anyway, so no big deal. This is the larger move down, right? This is the big move down coming back from, October, November. Swing down, that's our 31.21 bottom, or local bottom, I should say. Yearly low. And then we swung down. We did a little bit of a nice pattern here, which was beautiful. We had some range zones that came in. And then we had the step that we've been watching for the last, 2 weeks now. So the big step move up, sideways, step move up, sideways, step move up, and then gave half back, retesting structure highs. And now that's the range that we're living in. So let's take a look at that actual candle. On close, March 2nd, here's what we got. We opened the candle at 38.02. We hit a high of 38.19, not much, 17 bucks. We hit a low of 37.54, a little bit more dramatic, $56 down, right? And we closed at 38.08. So all day long, we're plus 0.16 or $6, right? So very, very, very boring trading. Good move to the downside, but not as large as the move 2 days ago. No, literally no move to the upside. So disappointing for the bulls that are playing this out. Just looking at straight up candles and candle formations, typically now because of the open and close being so close to each other, we can call that a doji. However, there are stipulations when it comes to dojis. So, you know, these wicks should be equidistant, meaning you should have traded as far low as you did high. That did not happen here. So, you know, typically speaking, if we wanted to get, you know, real technical with it, sorry about that, I had to look away for a minute. This would kind of be a dragonfly doji just based off of formation, but a dragonfly would have a flat top. So really, it's just a sideways candle with no winner and no loser. You know, we're just sideways. So the sooner we accept the fact that we are sideways, then we can continue to be sideways. And what we could do in here, if you are a scalp trader, if you are a day trader, you know, if you're a fan of the 1-5-15 charts, then you would have range opportunities, right? This would actually be a little too low for ranging within that ballpark. You want to get some bodies in there and then leave some hanging out. Those would be your outliers. So you want to capture the majority, right, and then move along from there. So we do see, you know, movement up, right? Big test down, more movement up. This is range trading. So these will give you, ideas of how to play that range if you were to do something like, well, play the top of range. Now, once you zoom in, right, it looks like you got all this room, but let me tell you, from top to bottom, right, there's not a whole lot shaking. If you played the whole range, you're looking at less than 2%. So it's, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but it is what it is, and this is the trading that we have. We are very, very, very familiar with range trading, trading Bitcoin, because we seem to always be in a range, right? More often than not, you're in a range, right? More often than not, you're sideways, you're consolidating, you're accumulating, and then you could distribute, and then you go back to consolidation, back to accumulation. There's an equilibrium within, and then you go back, you know, for a nice trend, you know, a nice trend move, a nice impulse move. And, you know, that's what we have. So that's what we're looking at. So let's scope out the last 24 hours and let's see what's been moving. Shirley Lewis. Hi, Shirley Lewis. That's so nice. She comes in and just, hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? All right, so 24 hours, I have it set to all. So we're looking at ETH, BTC, and Tether pairs. So far, the front runner for the last 24 hours of trading is APPC on the ETH and the BTC pair, coming in at 62 and 59% respectively. Now, each one of those has retraced back about half of that they've already lost. Again, super low cap coin, so that's one of those trade at your own risk type deals. If you want me to, I'll pull them up. I believe, we already looked at AST. But let's take something that has a little bit more gusto to it. Raven BTC, if you've been trading in the last 30 days, Raven should be on your brain. Raven has been doing a lot of moving, right? So 30% up just in the last 24 hours. Of that 30, we have lost 30. All right, so technically speaking, I guess it's, you know, whatever, 30 minus 33 per 30. You know what I'm saying. So it's fine. Yep, 10, 20, $20 up. So coming with that, Raven BTC. Now, what you don't notice is Raven ETH, right? So that Raven BTC pairing has outperformed the Raven ETH pairing, and that's why it's it's important to know what you're trading in and what you're trading out of so that you can get the best returns and then put it into something that is moving correctly or outpacing your current pair. Now we're showing sideways on the daily. We're going to have to take a look at that. We are showing sideways slightly bearish on the 12 and sideways slightly bullish on the 6, but we are showing an uptrend, the 1 and the 4 hour, with sideways slightly bullish on the lower time frames, 5, 15, and 30. So let's pull that up and let's take a look at what we got going on here. Raven BTC. All right, so here we are again. All right, so we've obviously played around with this chart a few times. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So we had target levels set. Why are these red boxes here? We had target levels set. Not sure what the double red is. We're going to get rid of all of this, and we're just going to start from scratch so that we can take a look at it together, you know, as like a family. All right, so here's what we're looking at for Raven. Large impulse move up, huge move up, which is great. This is a 21% candle right here, just on the daily chart. Before that, we had another monster candle, 23% up. Before that, another attempt, but a fail. And then we had two more big candles, 9 and 9. So huge candles up. Pretty big deal. We broke out of this broadening wedge, which is probably what those boxes were there for, right? So typically speaking, if you're a breakout trader, you're looking for something in this ballpark, right? This red line is your upper resistance level, right? So you have trading come in here. Okay, you did that. That's great. You want to come back and do that, find support, and then you want to make a higher high. So, you know, a very simple ABCD, but the idea behind it is, you know, finding support on that level that you broke out gives you confidence that you have continuation in trend. Now we're just going to clear most of this stuff up because we could just redraw most of it. There's, you know, too many lines, you know what I'm saying? It's just a little too murky. All right, so let's take a look at our MAs real quick. We got support from everybody, so let's kill those so that we could just get a better look at what's happening here. I'm gonna throw the volume back up. Okay, so it should be a little easier to see the broadening wedge, hopefully. That's this guy right here. All right, so coming down from our all-time high, we pushed down, right? We had a good retrace, solid retrace, and then we pushed down further, and then we had another retrace, and we pushed down further again. When we pushed down further this time, we just barely made a lower low, really only by just stabbing down with that wick. Now, old school support resistance, you got lines back here based off of trading off of listing. Now you can see off listing, we pushed up. We got stopped out here for hesitation, right? And then we pushed up again to make all-time highs. This is not all that different. So I would like to take a look at these levels and say, all right, if we see hesitation here, we could see pullback levels here. That's just based off of structure, right? This is just historical support resistance based off of structure highs, structure lows, and areas of interest like consolidation. All right, so now we have two things to look at here. We got the broadening wedge to look at, which we already have the breakout of. And then we have horizontal support resistance levels that are historical that would make sense for, you know, a current move. Let's take our fib out. Let's go to the bottom of the move, and that's this guy right here, and let's drag it over to the top. And let's see what we have going on here. Now, if we're looking for confluence on a pullback, right? If we're looking that there even is a pullback coming, and we could say we're curling out up top at 85. But RSI is holding strong. Nothing has shaken it just yet. And this is, for the life of this pair on Binance, this is the first time we've ever been out of 70 besides listing, right? I don't count any of that. So kind of a big deal, right? We don't have anything to go by. It's sort of like if we were making all-time highs, we'd be in price discovery. You're sort of in like RSI discovery, right? We don't know how it reacts over 70. We don't know how it reacts when it's in 80. You know, so that's something to keep in mind of. If you're confident that this is a big push up and it's just going to continue going, continue going, then you would be looking at a slight pullback if you wanted to get in something around the 236 zone. If you're feeling like you've gotten slightly exhausted, and therefore if exhaustion has hit in and it's ready to come pull back, there's two areas that make sense. One, this historical level here, which was an area of consolidation upon listing, which gave us hesitation and accumulation. And of course, the top of the broadening wedge, that's your next. Now, top of the broadening wedge is confluence with the 5-0, right, or the 50, or the 5, or however you want to call it. And 236 is just a shallow retracement. So something like this you may want to see on the smaller time frame to get an idea on what kind of pullbacks did we have. This was obviously a pullback, right? This right here. It just happened within the same daily time frame. So it recovered very quickly and then it got dropped out. So let's hit the hourly and let's get a better idea. Now you can clearly see the pullbacks. All right, we traded up, we pulled back. 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 So that being said, you can put like a separate fib level just on some pullbacks to get an idea for what they've done. This way, if you want to get in on a dip on something that's currently trending, get an idea for how that coin reacts, right? So let me show you something real quick. Let's just take this just because I'm staring at it, right? This guy right here. Go ahead, we throw our fib on, and we take a look. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can get a better idea. Now I'm only focused on just this move and this pullback. Pull back to the 5, right? That's where we found support. Let me get rid of that again, and let's zoom up the chart, right? So we come over here. Now this is another move, right? I totally skipped over it. So we take the bottom of that last move to the top, right? And we see what the pullback is. Pullback just missed the 5, and I probably have that off a little bit, so let's try that again. Still just missed the 5. So if you ended up front running the 5, you probably would have got tagged in, and that move would have been yours. So now again, we're going to swap this all around. We're going to take this to the top of the next move, right? And that's this guy right here, right? And go to the bottom of the move that we just measured. And we're going to say, all right, where did we pull back to? What is this, right? That's the 382. So it got more shallow. We went from the 5 to the 382. Now, again, you know, this next move up. Now, this is going to be far worse because there's not much history here. So we come down to the bottom. This was your pullback. This was your next move up. Now, this was like a full retrace down, almost back down to 1. So that's tough, right? That's tough to deal with. Now, in the grand scheme of things, you're still very much in an uptrend, so there's not too much to be worried about. Now, here's the next move, right? Next move up. Big move up, up, down. Where'd you find? The 618. So just on the last few that we checked, we had a 5, a 5, a 382, and a 618. So you have at least a ballpark to go with here. So now if you're saying, okay, we hit the 618 on here, that means this thing's going to trade back up for a little bit. Where do we think it's going to come back down so that I could jump back in on the next wave? So take a look at where these pullbacks line up. So when you see the pullback, right, look left. Just do something like that. Say, all right, so previous structure high. This was our previous high, you know, and we swung back down. Also, this was the higher of the two highs. So this was a swing failure, right? And we ended up testing bottom leg support. So that's fine. Now we come over here and we had this other move up and this retrace here. So where did we pull back to? Previous structure high. Previous structure high. Okay, both time. Previous structure high. That was where you got in on that move. This big move up and you came back down here. And what do we have? We have nothing, right? No sort of price history unless we go all the way back to chart and we can line it up with our cursor. Say, okay, just this little area here. Nothing too much, but it was the bottom of this move. So if you were very, very, very detailed with dropping in these horizontal support resistance, you may have caught that, but you know, it doesn't work every time. So this one, again, you would not have gotten into. You wouldn't have been able to get into that one. Now you go up to the next guy, you swing it back down, and now this move is just part of this move. So this was the tap down move. So you had the double entry at the same level. So now if you're back over here, you're coming up and you push back up, where do you think it'll retest to? Well, my bet would be previous structure high. So that being said, if you were to just hop into this haphazardly, you may have a good return. There's no telling whether you won't or you're not. But if you were to do something like that, I would expect at least some type of pullback on the hourly chart to come back down here before continuing to make previous highs. And I say continuing because of this, right? So far, we don't have an indication of trend invalidation. I hope that makes sense, right? There's nothing that's pointing to this being completely exhausted, or there's nothing pointing to this that's saying, hey, this thing's over, you better get out. Now, RSI is a good indicator for momentum. It gives you a really good idea on, you know, if this thing starts tipping down, then we have an idea for an exhaustion. Now, we've leveled, which is your first clue that we could be coming down a little bit, right? But you need to actually see that thing tick in the downward motion, right? In order to, you know, if you're going to use this as any type of indicator, then, you know, yeah, it has flattened out. It's not going straight up anymore. So it's sort of doing this right here. So which is one indication that it's slowing down a little bit. I would like to see it actually do this. And if that's the case, I feel a lot better about playing a pullback and not playing that you know, hop in for continuation. I would actually come back for the pullback. Now, you can look at a few other things here. Volume is a good indicator on what's happening. That's volume for everything being transacted within that 24-hour period, within that daily candle. Volume, unfortunately, is always estimated, but it does give you a relatively good idea. And you can see as the moves came up, outside of this candle, as the moves came up, right, you got more and more volume. So generally speaking, right, if volume is up and price is up, expect continuation. If there's divergence within that, if price is up but volume is down, if volume is doing the exact opposite, right, that shows you exhaustion, right? And that should give you the idea that this thing is ready to tip over the other way. Same thing when you're going down. You know, if you're going down, expect volume to come up, right? Because people are selling. They're selling, selling, selling. Selling volume is coming up. If it's doing the exact opposite, then you would expect some type of reversal. And, you know, we'll do something on volume one day, but that's what I got for you as far as that's concerned. Let me swing back over here real quick, and let me swing over here and do that. Okay, looks like we're good. All right, so we hopped over there. Let's take a look at another chart or two. If anybody wants something pulled up, just go ahead and shout it out in chat. We'll take a look. Typically, the daily candle close, you know, I'm not on too long. I sort of just pop on, do the daily candle, take a look at a few charts, and then I should be back on tonight for something a little bit, you know, a little bit more interesting, I guess you could say. But let's keep going down the list right here. So we took a look at Raven. PHX ETH, this is an interesting chart, or at least an interesting trend here. Got 1530 and the hourly all showing a strong uptrend. 5 minute sideways slightly bullish, where we have sideways slightly bearish on the longer time frames, 4, 6, 12. We're showing sideways for the daily. So I actually want to look this up. I don't think I've ever looked up PHX before. I can't remember. Was it BTC? I might have messed that one up. Let's see. No, it was ETH. All right. PHX ETH. That's the chart. Oh, that didn't work. PHX. There we go. Hey, there we go. There it is. You just gotta work with me, guys. That's all right. Okay. So again, a chart I've never looked at before. So I like to take a look. 8 million market cap. So you know, it's a low cap, micro cap coin. So this one looks way less dramatic. All right, one big massive candle, and you know we're gonna let that ride. But as far as a majority of the candles are concerned, this looks like fairly steady trading. So I feel better about this chart than some of the other ones. So I want to find a couple areas of interest here. We'll put a level down here. That'll be for support leg coming down before the big reversal up. Of course, we got stopped out all the way up top, but we'll just hit for now just the body for the candle close on the daily. That seemed to be pretty important. Came down, we found a reversal pullback here, and then we found an area to stop ourselves here from going any further. And then we'll do something along this bull line here because we ended up finding a nice pullback. That's about it for now. I don't like putting too many of those things on, especially if we're not even trading in that area. But this will at least give us some type of indication of this zone right here. Now we could call this a channel, right? It's a quite a large channel, but we can still call it a channel nonetheless. We would want to see what we have going on. So upon reversal, right? So we had a pivot point right here. We came up, we had a nice big strong move up, and then we had a really big pullback, but we did go on to make another higher high, which was great. After that higher high, we lost everything back down again, almost to our previous low, and then we had another push up. So this push right here is a swing failure. That's failure to make a higher high. So I'm going to go wick to wick on this one because those wicks are fairly identical. RSI down. Okay, so we're cool on that. Now we say, all right, we got ourselves upper resistance. Let's give ourselves some sort of lower trend, right? And so from our bottom, let's work on our other bottom here. And let's go right up. Let's snug it up right there, and let's make that green for support. So it's not exactly a symmetrical triangle. There's not enough history here to show it. But if we were to go down and back up, then yeah, we would have a 3-touch top and a 3-touch bottom, and that would give us an idea of, you know, something to look at as far as breakout plays are concerned. If we're looking at channels and we're within this channel right here, you could be looking to short this resistance zone if it was to break out of this triangle first, and then you would ride that channel all the way down. You'd have to look at this level and see if it actually breaks through this current zone right here. Now that candle alone is a 16% candle. That's not bad, but again, these low cap coins, you know, they're finicky with how they operate. If I were to just throw a fib on from the bottom to the top of this move and just have an idea of possible retrace levels on the pullback that we're already getting right now, you know, clearly we can't go with previous structure high because it's a higher high. So on a swing failure, you sort of have to work off of 1, the fibs, and 2, previous history. As in, this was our high before our higher high. That is too high, right, than our current high. Does any of that make sense? Sorry about that. It's just, yeah, it just didn't work out so well. All right, so anyway, I'm going to do this because we had this big move up, right? We had great resistance, and we came right back down. So this is a level that would be nice to retest. Now, we retested it here and pushed back up for another bigger move. So I'm okay with taking a shallow retrace at the 382 if I see supporting evidence elsewhere that that's our target area. Generally, altcoins are, you know, 786, 886, massive retracements. And they can be very brutal. But we can get one indication. If we took the bottom of this move and we took the top of this move, we say, all right, what do we got here? 786 is where it found its support. Let's take the top of this move right here with our bottom level move, which would be this guy down here. When we topped down and found support, our first support we found was 786. So, you know, you apply the same sort of idea. If this blows through and doesn't find support, then what you do is you throw your targets all the way down here, and you don't grab that target here. This is a watch and standby target. That's watch price action on a 15 or on a 30-minute chart and see if it reacts. If you have a good reaction, then all right, you could buy in, and now you're going to buy in a little bit above the 382. If there's no reaction and it just continues to come down, you saved yourself buying in here and getting this whole loss. Now, if you target the 786, try to see if there's any reason why the 786 would make sense. And if you could do that, then you at least have a little bit of confidence. So let's do the whole zone from the 709 or the 706 to the 786, we can say this whole area right here was accumulation. Right? There was a lot of accumulation. On our big move up with our pullback, we found support again in that same zone, accumulation. And then what did we talk about on the last coin when we marked out that last level? Hesitation, right? This is hesitation. This is taking a breather out from the big dump. This is saying everybody's all lined up, bang, everybody marches, and it's like, all right, let me just catch my breath for a minute. Let me catch my breath. Let me give the bulls an opportunity to fight back. Oh, they got nothing. Smash it back down again. All right, we gotta get our backpacks together, refill our gear. Let's get a sip of water. Okay, let's bring it down. That's the idea with hesitation. So those levels are good and they make sense. So what I would do is something similar to this. I would say if I wanted to take this trade, I'm marking out this zone as my little buy zone area, you know, with confluence of this trend line coming up. So if this takes a few days, then okay, I would be looking more like this. But I would watch it close for some type of reaction on the 382. It could very easily find support and then smash its head on this resistance line, and now you're looking for a breakout play. And a breakout play like we just talked about in the other example. You know, you break out of it, you come back, you retest it, right? And then you have another higher high from there. You got a big push out. All right? So that's similar to the coin we just looked at as far as possibilities are concerned. All right? What do we got? Oh, okay. So, geez, I should have looked over. All right. BTT and Trex, QLC, BTG, USD. Okay, so let's do that in order. BTT. Now, BTT. So there's not enough history on BTT for like anything great. But let me see. BTT. I guess. Well, BTC would probably be the highest volume. Yeah, man, there's just so little, there's just nothing happening here. Okay, so what do we got? As far as what we have, which is a handful of days of actual history here, what do we got? Zoinks. So we have 31 days of history. Any trader will tell you it's impossible to chart, and they wouldn't be wrong. But we could certainly take a look and just get a few ideas on what has already happened, right? So price came up like anything else, right? No matter how much history you have on it, you can still see price action, right? So price came up, it came down, it found support. Okay. It reversed, it came up, another push, tried to make another higher high, failed. All right, so no problem. We'll put our little failure line right here. Easy. All right, so now we can see within the last, 14 or so days, 15 or so days, a majority of this coin, right, we have traded within these two lines. So we have an upper limit of 29, we have a lower limit of 22, and we're currently trading at 21. What does that tell us? Well, that tells us that we broke our lower resistance, right, and we're either starting to make lower lows or we're going to come back for a retest, right? So it could go either way. Unfortunately, like I say, you don't have enough history to sort of dictate where this thing is going to go. RSI is just steadily down, so there's not a lot to look at there. We certainly do have trend lines that we could paint. I mean, we could paint them all the way from our first top. All right, now this would give us support leg breaking through if we were to use the wicks. If we were to just take the trend for what the trend is, which is more like this, then we could see resistance down the way. So not only did you break down, right, but you smashed your head on, well, what we would normally call long-term resistance is not so long-term anymore. We can also see patterns here. So we clearly have a descending triangle, right, starting at this top zone here, swinging our way down, and this was our support leg. All right, so a symmetrical triangle, generally speaking, is going to break up or down. It usually likes to break between 50 and 75. This just trickled down below, which is unfortunate because it doesn't give you much to go by when it just, does this. That's kind of boring. Now, let's take a possibility here. Let's say we continue to go down. Let's say that that is something that we want to take a look at and prepare ourselves for those moves. If we do that, we need some type of level of support. And I don't know where my thing went here. Let's get it back. So when you look at levels of support, right, you're going to look at, price action came up, it found resistance, it found support, and it pushed back up. So unfortunately, you have a level of support, although historical, but without any type of retest or anything. We would be looking at coming down to 14, worst case scenario, and looking for a reaction to support. All right. From there, you don't have too much more to go by, unfortunately. Just with what we're looking at. Now, we could put a whole bunch of candles on the chart and do hourly, but, it's not going to do much for us. Now, something like this, anything that trades super low sats like that, I like to pull up the ETH pair because there's far more resolution within your trading options. So, now we're in the 720s, right? And not in the 14, 15 zone. So you can see there's far more data that we could play around with. So when we have those super low cap, it is a lot on super low cap, but when we do have coins that are trading very, very, very low sats, I like to pull up the Ethereum pair. I think it just gives you a better look and far more opportunities to get in and out of a trade as opposed to the Bitcoin pairing. So ETH is looking a little bit more dramatic. This is a falling wedge. So you would be painting your levels sort of like that. You get maybe something a little bit more like that. And then you would have your upper resistance level, which you can actually start back here. So something like that. Now this would show falling wedge, right? It's a little bit not great. But you could break either way on a falling wedge. Now, you don't have a trend to even say it's trend continuation, which is rough, and that's why, it's very hard to chart this because there's just not much to go by here. Previous history would have been listing right at 642. It just went straight up, and then a monster pullback. So yeah, not too much to look there. Sorry, Josh. That's about all we can do with that. Tron. I don't know what pair you want. If you're trading Tron, I would imagine you're probably trading the Tron Tether pair. So let's take a look at that. If you're not, just shout it out and let me know. So this is good. We looked at Tron, I guess probably last night. And we noticed this area here, right? This was going to be an area of either coming back as old support, right? Or our breakout zone. So that's exactly what happened, right? We ended up getting a breakout to the south, which is what we have right here. So we're going to have to pull up the smaller time frame. Let's just go with a 4-hour and see if we can see what we see here. Right. Okay. So the 4-hour chart, we had same deal, a falling wedge. I think Snow was asking about this. So Tron to the downside, unfortunately, is we were looking at possibly making, lower lows. So this was a buy target. We haven't hit it yet. It's very close. We do have possibilities with that pink line. I think we were looking at some type of support. Is that... It does seem about right. Yeah, because we had that massive move up with a massive move down, and then we were basically still just in that range, right? So this was the area breakout if we were going to break out north, and this was the area breakout if we were going to break out south. So this breakout is of the big giant falling wedge, and let me put the daily chart back on here so you can see that a little bit better. So 2 patterns to look at here. First off is the symmetrical triangle. Descending triangle. And the second pattern is this wedge right here, which is a little bit harder to see, but it's these red lines. Follow them up, and this red line, follow that up, and you'll see what looks like a falling wedge, which is exactly what that is. So the descending triangle we've already broke out of. That's this right here. Now your falling wedge we have not broke out of. Right, very close. Right, very, very, very close. Now, generally speaking, if you're going to break out of something like this, it's very similar to a Head and Shoulders where you would retest that line. So I'd like to see buying come back in and do this. And then when it's done doing that and it finds resistance, I would like it to do this. And that tells me two things. One, we lost our pattern, right? The descending triangle is over. We've clearly identified this zone as resistance. Now we break out of our falling wedge. Now we come back out of the falling wedge. We find support on historical support resistance. We retest the wedge. We continue to go down. Okay? That's not, trust me. No, there's no guarantees here. But this level of support resistance is good for two reasons. One, we found massive support on it after this big push up, which ended up being our pivotal point that got us our local high. Okay, so it holds a little bit more weight. Not only that, it was previous structure high. We just talked about that. So very important. So can we see this continue to go down? Sure. Why not? Can we see it finding support? Sure. Why not? Is it going to react like other coins when we come with historical support resistance and pattern breakout plays where we come back and retest? We don't know. We don't know how it's going to react. We can clearly see that our RSI is consistently making, right, lower highs. So lower highs, and now in the video I talked about RSI and the cool different things you could do with it, but this is perfectly acceptable to draw patterns right on the RSI, and you can play these. You could play the breakout play of this. This is another falling wedge, right? It's also just literally a downtrend. I mean, you have lower highs and lower lows, so it's clearly a downtrend. But you could play that falling wedge, and if it plays out, breakout on the south side, you could play that. Tron, you could short, and if you're going to play it to the upside, then you could play that as well. Now we could take a look at there's any like divergence going on here, where yeah, you have divergence right here. At least you had it, right? So you would have, or is that? Oh no, the wick's all the way up there. I'm sorry. Nope. Yeah, that's a high and that's a lower high. That's a high and that's a lower high. So we're cool on bearish. Now we have this high here and this high here. So we're cool on all bearish because bearish only checks the highs. So bullish, you check the lows. So we have a low right here, right? And then our next low is a lower low. And that's right here. Now you have divergence. Zoink. So you could do this. All right. And you could do, well, we already have the line, but there, it's like that. We'll just cover up our old line. All right. So with divergence on the lows, if you're looking at lows, right, then you're dealing with bullish divergence. Okay. So generally speaking, this is something that happens on, the very next move, which, we could see already happen. This was the low point, and then we reversed up and we made a high. Right now it's exhausted. But just so you know how to spot divergence, if you're looking at lows, price action, if you're looking at a higher low, right? And on RSI, you're looking at a lower low, you're looking at hidden bullish divergence. Hidden bullish divergence is continuation or supposed to be continuation. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's divergence, right? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, it is divergence, right? But it's not your typical standard bullish divergence. Bullish divergence is lower lows on price action, and then your indicator is showing you higher lows, right? Showing you that you should be going up, right? You should have some sort of up move, even though you're in, a downtrend. This is showing you, technically speaking, before this ever happened, you were in, an uptrend, right? You had a low, you had a high, you had a higher low, and you were creating your next higher high. And it should have showed you continuation, and it only did, but only for a brief second, and then it failed. Once we failed, that was a wrap, and now you can get rid of these things because you don't need to look at them. All right, so there's your little, here's your daily lesson on RSI and divergence. What we're looking at here, again, I would be looking at this play. I would be mindful of, if you see buying coming back in, to maybe not get too excited. I would imagine that we're going to retest that pattern. And if we do, then I would be expecting a rejection and then come down further on the downside to then play this pattern to retest that, look for historical levels of support resistance where we can make a play. And at that point, you can either, long resistance or look at continuation. Continuation will bring us probably down in this ballpark here. All right, so that's something to look at for Tron. What else do we have here? So let's see. BTT Tron. QLC. Let me pull QLC for a minute. QLC. Let's do the ETH pair. Binance. Okay, QLC had a fairly good move. 3-7 up. 2-5. And what is this guy? Another 5. 2 5s, 10. So almost 20% overall. We're on the daily chart, so let me take a look at, what kind of movements we got going on here. Huge move down, big V bottom back up, and a bit of a W down here, but nothing, catastrophic. We could take a look at these levels right here, finding support on your first leg down, ended up being resistance, 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 resistance. So clearly that's the next level we're looking for if we're trying to make a push up. And we would do something like this as far as our channel is concerned. Let me take a look at that RSI again. All right, so this is what I was talking about on, not the last chart, but the chart before. When you see this, right, then you're starting to think, all right, we got reversal or we have pullback, right? This is not clear continuation, right? Clear continuation was like we looked at the last chart, and it just kept going up, 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 up. I think that was Raven that we were looking at. So, that being said, that gives me a little bit more confidence that if we try to play a pullback on this move, we have a little bit better of an opportunity for a move here, for an actual play, right? That didn't work out so well. All right. Again, so if you're new to the stream, when I'm on stream, I just kind of try to do things a little quicker. So I do just eyeball these things for now, and nothing's exact, right? We're just trying to get relative levels and zones that we can then tighten up on another day. All right, so this zone right here looks like this was resistance to the top side, resistance to the top side. This was a big false breakout, but it didn't end up getting stopped out on our main level, right? That large level up top. Again, this is all stop out, stop out, stop out, right? So we know there's resistance up there. Currently, we know RSI has turned back around. We are currently finding support on previous structure. Previous structure high, and that's exactly where, this is touched down on right now. Now, do we think there's further to go down? There's a good chance that it will. It's a pretty large move up without too much of a pullback. That's down to the 236. 382 would make a little bit more sense as far as trading is concerned. Now we look down at the 5, and the 5 would be a good level too. It's sort of in the middle of this accumulation zone, and it's sort of down at the bottom of here. Something like this would be a lot better. It sounds crazy, but you have this massive move down, and then you find support. So why? Why do you find support there? Why is that area so important? So I would be looking at something like this. And I would say to myself, does that have confluence with anything? Yeah, sure it does. With the 618, that's perfect. So I might go and say, let's say 618, maybe front run it a little bit, and I might drag that all the way down to the 709, 706 area and say, this is what I'm looking for as far as my target. This is my clear challenge, right? This is the overhead challenge that for the last 4 times it's been tested, it has failed every time. So if you're not pulling profits here, then I don't know what you're doing. You know, you would need to use this as resistance, probably pull profits here, and then reassess the situation. Now, if it's just blasting right through it, just skim a little off the top and then reassess. But I would imagine that you're going to see some type of reaction. People are going to be selling, 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 and selling. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times we were at that level, and the 6th time we blew right through it. All right, so that's what I have for what is that? QLC. So QLC chain. All right, very good. Let's see, QLC BTG USD. See, Snow's put the whole thing up there. That's nice. Now you didn't put the exchange, but that's all right. All right, so Bitcoin Gold, Tether, probably not looking longs and shorts. Finex probably has more volume, so let's throw that up. Man, I haven't looked at Bitcoin Gold. Whoo, it's been a good long time. I've never looked at the gold Tether pair. Okay. Well, it's not great. Let's be honest, right? It's not great. Let's get our trend down here because clearly we are in a trend, a very large, old trend that's doing trend things. Okay. Let's see. We could probably do this for a channel. Of course, that didn't work out super well. But let's do something like that, and let's do something like this. Ugh, get over here. Okay, come on. Work with me. There you go. All right, so big, gigantic falling wedge / channel-ish, kind of. I'd almost want to put a parallel on here, even though I know it won't work. It could be a decent indication of that medium line. Now, of course, like it's not going to line up, but I just want to see something real quick. And this is something you could do whenever you have like a nice parallel channel and not something that's, wedging down. But you got to look at that median line right here and see if it's been reacted off of. And it has. This isn't a perfect median line, but we can see we traded up above it and then we accumulated on it, broke through, came back. It ended up being resistance, came back down, found support on the lower portion of the falling wedge, came back up, got stopped out where? Right on the median line, came back down, found support. This time we came up, we tested it once, we failed, came back down, broke through, hesitation, you can see the hesitation right there, hesitation up, and then a slow move up to the top of the wedge. Top of the wedge we failed, broke down, failed again, came back down, where did we hesitate? Right on the median line. Came back up. Now we found resistance on historical support resistance. Slowly bled our way back down. Found support where? Right on the median line. And now we're back on smashing our head on the falling wedge. So I'm not going to keep it there because it's wrong. But it does give you an idea at least what you could be looking at as far as median lines are concerned. They are, fairly significant. So now that we just went through that whole run, the next obvious move, if you're going to play the channel, is this, right? I mean, that's what you would like to see if you're playing this wedge. Now, if you're trying to break out of this wedge, you're gonna have a bit of a hard time because now you're underneath major support and not the greatest of moves. Good legs, though. This is a 15% candle up. This is a 12% candle up. Current local micro trend is up. So these are all, good things for sure. You could do something like, more like that. And then we'll make that green for support. And it's nice to have just a little green on the chart, right? So let's do that and that. Okay, so if you're playing this out, you're gonna let this triangle, this little, symmetrical triangle, just this very tiny one, you're gonna let it play out either direction. This is very much like the Tron chart we just looked at, just on a kind of on a larger scale. As far as this price action is concerned, you want to break out on either side, right? One or the other. It's either going to break down, right, or it's going to break up. One or the other here. You don't have the luxury of getting both, right? Not that you would want the luxury of both. All right, so if you had that to contend with, there's not too much to do with this until you get a move that breaks away one side or the other. Now we could see what RSI did and just have a ballpark idea here. This is actually somewhat good news for RSI players because this is a higher high the last time through RSI. So this right here is actually good. Now, if you have confluence with that, you had a high and then you had a higher high, then that's great. Now you could take this whole thing again and draw yourself a little channel and see what you got going on here. So if this was your, oh gosh, yes, all right, well, similar to that-ish. So now you have your rising wedge that you're looking at, which is just part of your big falling wedge over here. Then you would be looking at breaking out north side, and you want to flip this aqua line at 15.6. All right, you want to be able to break up above that, retest it, and that would do two things for Bitcoin Gold that it hasn't done in a very, very, very long time. First thing would be breaking out of this gigantic channel, falling wedge. Second thing would be getting up and over 15.6, which you haven't done since December 5th. But it's also a long-term support resistance. So support, resistance, and we didn't even use it again for resistance over here. So that's what I would be looking at as for Bitcoin Gold, USD. So it's got a couple options, but unfortunately you have to wait a little bit if you're playing the daily chart. If you're, looking to scalp that thing and the 15 or the 5, and we can take a look at something like that later, see what kind of moves you got. So let's see, BTG USC, Josh, damn okay, Josh, ooh, okay, Josh, all good. You had a whole conversation there. You ignoring my G-Byte. Where? I don't see it. you know it likes you. All right. Let's do G-Byte, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. What do you got here? You can choose the exchange. I remember G-Byte for... Okay, yeah, I got you. I remember. G-Byte. Well, we don't have a whole lot of exchanges here. It looks like Trex. Trex is the only one. That can't be right. Yeah, okay. This was us. All right, so... Yes. Bytes. We're back. All right, we're back. We're still on the daily chart. These are horizontal support resistance lines we already threw up here. This was our resistance. Why? Okay. It's green because it is now support. Very good. All right, so we are still within our ascending triangle. This is the opposite kind of triangle from the ones we've seen on the last few charts because this one is getting stopped out at the same level up top, but it's making higher lows. RSI on this guy is creeping up out over 70, so that's good news for RSI traders. They do like to see this move here. It is already starting to curl just a little bit, but I wouldn't be overly concerned just yet. I would be expecting two things here. One, you're either going to respect this trend line, and this trend line is more of a channel, right? You can see the bottom leg here. It's kind of hard to see. You can see it more, right, this. So that channel is what we drew when we started having this type of price action down on the low side. Now, of course, you do have a big breakout, and you have another big breakout. But a majority of the trading is happening within the confines of the channel. So, two things. One, do you respect the channel? You have right here All right, trading came up 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and on the 5th day, it smashed its head on the channel and got rejected. On the 6th day, it tried again and is currently getting rejected. All right, this is something to keep in mind. You know, if you're trading, you know, this particular pairing, then you want to be aware that you're acting as resistance right now. The last time it broke through was a straight shot. The time prior to that, it broke through on a straight shot, came back for a retest, and pushed back up on a straight shot. So this is the first time the channel itself is providing that kind of level of rejection. You can almost call this fourth candle back rejection, but it's close, but not quite there. So definitely 1, 2, 3 days in a row of rejecting that. Now that could mean two things. One, you are also at the top range of this triangle, so therefore there's not a whole lot of room to go. Once you go up above it, it's just another smash, so you could just be playing that channel out further, or two, right, it's just being respected by the channel. And if it's being respected by the channel, then you could play that channel down, which means the next move for this guy is down to the bottom side of the channel. You know, it's a channel is a range. It's just that this one is, you know, has an upward trend to it. So a few things could happen here. You know, it could easily do this as the next move, which would get confluence to not only the channel but to the ascending triangle, and then from there you could have another move back up like this. You know, yada, yada, yada. And you can go back and forth all day long with that. Eventually, you got to get out of this triangle, so you'd be looking for a breakout. And like everything else, you know, by now, you know what I'm talking about. I want to see something like this. You know, I want to see a breakout. All right? Breakout. So smash out the channel, smash out the pattern, come back and retest. This would be a great spot because it's confluence between the pattern and the channel, and then work your way up to something much better. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to go by with this, except the next move, you know, should be, all intents and purposes, if you're playing the pattern, would be down, because you're currently finding resistance on the channel. Now, the previous times, like I said, that you broke through the channel, it was a nice move. It's a nice move. There was no prior hesitation, no prior rejection. It was just a smash grab move up from within the confines of the channel. So that's something to consider as far as rejection is concerned for that channel. All right, so not a great update for your G bites. Sorry about that. I do what I can. All right. In any event, that will wrap it up for right now. I will try to come back on later tonight and maybe pull up a few more charts and take a look at a few setups. But until then, I will see you on the exchanges. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy trading.